Welcome, everybody, to a fun-filled, debate-driven, I don't even know if it's debate-driven, an exciting evening of Prepper Talk Radio. This is our weekly live. For those of you who are listening on the replay, this is August 7th, 2024, and my name is Scott. I'm one of the hosts here at Prepper Talk Radio. Shane and Paris will be joining me any second now. They are finishing up another interview that you're going to have to go back and listen to. It is fantastic. It is our good friend Jeff Kirkham, who is a best-selling author. He co-wrote Black Autumn. They've got Homestead, the movie, coming out soon, and they've also got a few other things in the pipeline, a bunch of books, and just a fantastic individual. Love that guy.
Yeah, he's so awesome.
Fantastic interview. But as we're going to delve into some fun stuff tonight, some different stuff, but remind you guys, check out our good friends over at AMP3. That's amp-3.net. They are one of the best, one of our favorites for first aid. Check them out. Go use the code PrepperTalk to save 15%. 15% at checkout. It's all American made. They're a Patriot-owned company. They believe in you and I and David, the founder, he and his wife. He is a former U.S. Navy, and he worked as an ER doc until his retirement recently. Fantastic people. Go check out their stuff. Definitely go buy some. I've got some, and so should you. Guys, we're gonna dive deep. I'm gonna argue. I'm gonna yell. No, I'm not gonna yell. I'm gonna cuss. I'm not gonna cuss. We're gonna get conflicted. I kind of want to cuss just to be conflicted about it. But welcome to the show, Paris and Shane.
Yeah, we're here. We just finished up that interview with Jeff. That was awesome. Couple real quick world events just happened recently too. In San Andreas, California, we had an earthquake, 5.6. So if anybody's listening and was in that, shoot us a message. Tell us how it was. Tell us what you did to survive. We had an episode not too long ago about earthquake preparedness, and so we'd love to hear if that helped. We'd love to hear if that might help you now after having had that earthquake. So just let us know. Keep us in the loop on what you're going through, and hopefully your no major damage happened to your property.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we also have interesting news. For those of you guys who have been listening for a long time, we keep talking about this thing called the Ready Radius. And we said, well, we'll write a book about it. Well, guess what? That book is now published. So if you want to go check it out, head on over to Amazon. We're going to be giving away, yes, I said giving away, from the 8th until the 11th, free copies to anyone that wants it from Amazon. Go get the ebook. And we ask that you simply just do this. Give us a 5-star review on that. Help us get other people identifying it, noticing it. Share the link with your friends and family. Just go on Amazon, search the Ready Radius book, and you will find it.
Oh, it popped right up. I just found it.
We will be also doing, with our 400 episode coming up, we're going to be giving away a couple of signed copies of that once those come in for some of you fantastic listeners. Ooh. Kind of exciting. We're now published authors, Shane.
Oh, we get to sign it, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to make you use your old John Hancock.
Well, I do like cursive. That's one thing I've been practicing for a while, is so I don't lose the art of cursivity, whatever the word is.
It was super funny. My wife wrote a cursive letter to my new son-in-law, and he actually needed to have help reading it because he was like, "Cursive? What is this cursive stuff?" So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, my
family. It is an art that's being lost into the ages, interestingly enough.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, where do you want to start tonight, guys?
Well, let's start with the end in mind.
I found my card. Well, I thought I had more than 2 decks, but I only found 2 decks. So I got.
Okay, I got plenty.
Oh, you do.
Plenty of decks here.
Same. Well, let's launch it out. I mean, we've had some interesting things. The earthquake. We've had the power of most of the internet go down a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago now. We have the hurricane that just hit Florida. Let's go full bore all the way down. Let's just say, due to World War III, the infrastructure of society has gone back to a level not seen since the 1800s. Your help is requested in forming the new government, and you can change or implement 5 laws as you see fit. What would these laws be and why? Would you change? Maybe you wouldn't change. I want to hear you in the comments, like light it up as well. Would you change anything or not?
I think you're going to have to read that again. I was not paying
Okay,
close
so
attention.
World War III, post-apocalyptic, new governments being formed. What
Okay.
5 laws would you either change
Oh,
or implement?
geez.
I know this is
Oh,
all or
geez.
nothing. Strike while the iron's hot. This is the big info dump question of the day. What would you change any laws, or what would you implement?
Well, I think where I would start it would be probably like the 3 laws from iRobot, right? Remember those 3 laws? Basically,
No.
do no harm.
Okay.
You know, I think they should be extremely simple. I think it would be advantageous to go back to the Constitution, not the Bill of Rights, just the plain old bare bones Constitution. Even leave the Bill of Rights out. The more simple, the better, if you ask me.
I think a good law would be mind your own business.
There we go.
You know, meaning you do what you. That if we all just live life, so we do need to make sure that we're not going to infringe upon the life, liberty, or property of other people. And so that's really the laws that I would kind of coordinate or pick would be more like realistically, let's just remember that. Like the laws are don't kill people, don't steal from people, and leave people alone if they're not doing those other 2 things. If I'm not harming you, you're not harming me. Leave each other. Just do it. Let's leave each other alone.
Yeah, I like this law. Yeah, who wear a mask in the car, get dropped off in the desert with a water bottle, and learn about it. I'd vote for that law. Because you got to get weeded out somehow, right? You got to get weeded out of the population.
Well,
for stupidity.
Okay, I would leave some things the same. I would make it a law that you cannot put. If you have a product that requires a warning label, it cannot go to market. That would do 2 things. One, it would make sure it honors your statement above, but also it would eliminate anyone who can't use common sense to use a product, right? But absolutely, if it damages a person, their property, or their rights to privacy or the pursuit of life and liberty, like it should not be allowed. Like just do good. That's hard. I mean, 5 laws. Definitely keep First Amendment. Definitely keep Second Amendment. But man,
it's the 10 Commandments. Take the first 5 of those. The 10 Commandments, and
our Supreme Court has already said that is the law of the land.
Yeah,
right.
That's what everything's based on. I mean, that's what the Constitution is truly based on. Is it's biblical. It's Christian.
Amen.
So I guess the right way to play this game is to first of all pick a deck. So everyone out there, if you can focus on and see the different decks here. So we pick a deck and then we pick a card randomly from the deck. There we go.
Try to get a better.
You're trying to get me right. So we're
there we go.
So you pick a deck and then we go through, and there we go. Okay, right there.
It's not letting me do it.
No, that's working right there. That works, right? If you can see that, it's not focusing real well. So you pick a deck, and then I will pick a card randomly from the deck. And so somebody, if you saw those, throw out a topic there, throw out a deck, and then I will just reach in and grab one. I'll just make a pick here. I'll go from, I think the most relevant is the financial collapse right now, right? And then just randomly pick a card from the deck. Let's go like this. Okay, right there in the center.
The U.S. economy and what happened in Japan just now.
Okay, that would be a great topic, but let's do it random. Let's see what we get here. Which one of the modern countries in the world is a good economic model to be followed today, in your opinion, and why? I think that's a great question. I don't think I know enough about other countries for economic models, but I think at this point it would be the smaller the better. What do you guys think?
I don't think any of them are a good economic model because all of them use fiat currency.
Mm-hmm.
None of them adhere to the gold standard for all citizens.
Mm-hmm.
They may have gold-backed to some degree, right? But none of them are locked to the gold.
That is true. Yeah.
And so I don't think, honestly, there is none. There is not a single one. There was an ancient American civilization that had 12 different items, or 12 or 13 different items, and they actually identified what they were as far as their gold trade and their economy, and that lasted a long time. But they're gone too, and I'm assuming they're gone because of wickedness, right? That's what destroys every society, and we just lost Paris. I don't know.
Oh well.
As soon as they started talking gold and silver, he's gone. He's like,
I'm sure he'll be
Where are
back
you
shortly. There we go. He's coming back on here.
he's coming
He
in.
got booted off here. You got booted off there, Paris?
Well, apparently my microphone is not working.
Oh yeah, it's been muted since the last conversation as well. So
I was just trying to see if the settings came in differently if I came out and back in.
understand. All right. So I think Paris, it's your turn to pick a deck, pick a card, or we can go until you want to.
Just
I can
randomly
pick one of
draw
my
a card out
cards.
of your own deck.
What deck you got there, Paris?
I think it's the OG conflicted. Oops,
The original. The original.
Yeah, I think it's one of the OGs. Yep, that
Okay.
one. Okay,
All right,
so
cool.
let me pick what this is. Okay, what is the first skill you wish you had in case the world went into post-apocalyptic mode tomorrow, and why?
That's a good question.
Jeff Kirkham.
Yeah, I want him on my side regardless.
I just wish I had all his knowledge and skill. Like we all joke, it's like, oh, you wish you were James Bond, or you wish you were, Cody Lundin, a real person, or Jeff Kirkham, a real person, or the Turkish shooter who just OG walks up with a hand in his pocket, and so did his female compatriot, who together they won silver. People keep forgetting about that. Did you guys see that? He just walks up, no special devices, and he's just like,
Yeah,
"Clink, I win."
yeah,
Or,
just like a regular guy.
And he's been internationally shooting for a long time, a lot of championships, but crushed it. Just walked out in the Olympics and crushed it. As much as I'm not watching the Olympics, it's hard to miss him on social media. I think he's taken it by storm. He's John Wick himself into the beginning, middle, and end of every post, it seems.
So you're saying one of the skills is basically firearm skills, pistol skill. Is that what you're kind of alluding to for your
with Jeff
your one
Kirkham,
skill?
It covers everything, but I think confidence in my practice. If I was going to say just him, Turkish shooter guy, I forget his name, I apologize, but confident in what he knows and what he does, but well enough versed in it and experienced that it's just natural. Right?
Well, see, one thing that Jeff did recently, he went and got his nursing degree. He's working for his master's nursing degree, and this is a guy who was a special ops for 26 and a half years in the military and developed the rats tourniquet, and he still felt the need to go and get his degree and learn nursing, and he's just all on board with that, and I find that just very impressive. Me, I'm just fiddling around compared to with what he's doing, right? So I think that would be probably a number one skill to have right off the bat. Is very valuable, makes you very valuable, especially in SHTF, right?
I was going to say, how's this sound? Does it sound better?
Yeah, that does sound better.
Well, Practical says try unplugging it, and I realized that it wasn't even plugged in the first place, so I didn't have to unplug it. Anyways, so I was thinking that I did a whole episode last. Anyways, the point is that one of the skills that I think that I would like to learn is what we had an episode a couple of times ago with J.R. Henry. I'd like to learn how to make sure that I can sustainably feed myself into the future. It's great to have food storage. It's great. I mean, obviously there's other skills that I want to learn, like first aid, of course, keeping myself clean and from a disease and other things. But I think that food preparation, food regenerative farming, like being able to plant, grow, and then harvest seeds and then replant from that and continue to have that just forever. That's something that I would like to learn.
Yeah, that's so valuable. I mean, how many of us rely solely on farmers and food production from not just America, but all over the world? Like a lot of the stuff if you're buying your meat in those boxes, most of those boxes are coming from somewhere else in the world, right? Not even all grocery stores carry American meat, which is weird to me.
It's disgusting.
None of the stuff that we're really buying is all American sourced anymore anyways. So if you're not starting to farm and grow your own food, homestead, like your food production is completely at the whims of whoever might be in power or control at the time. So yeah, absolutely, it'd be good to know all those things and have J.R. Hendry as your neighbor.
Yeah. Jeff
Well,
and
we just,
JR.
I don't know if you guys know this, but our we had AJ Hurley. I can't remember what his last name was right now. We had AJ on, who was from the farm, and he's actually continuing to fight the good fight. And there's some things that are coming up. So go check out his AJ Hurley, I think.
AJ Richards.
AJ Richards. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry,
go
AJ.
check out his social media, because he's got some updates that he's had.
That was a great.
In fact, he's actually working with Brooke Entz now, the famous CrossFitter, the
cool.
Fitness lady. So he's well, at least he has a podcast, a reel with her, and they're talking and going into like why it's important to make sure that we're fighting to keep our farms safe.
Very cool. All right, Scott, I think it's your turn to pick a card.
I've got one that's now we're really getting into conflicted. Someone in your inner circle of trusted friends has committed an unforgivable act, and you're the only witness. They don't know that you know. So what is the proper punishment for what they've done?
Dang.
Or do you punish them? Would you take care of it secretly or discuss fate with the group first? Because you probably think that death is the appropriate response for what this person has done. It's that grievous.
I think my first instinct would be to try and handle it privately first. But I'd have to put more thought on that.
Yeah, that's something that if there's like a council in our, if you have a community that has a council and it's that grievous, it'd probably be a good idea to address it first individually and then say, look, if this doesn't change, we got to go to the council with it, because it's not kosher to kind of have that. That's what I would say.
I would definitely require a council. I do not. We talked about this on our last episodes. Like the factors of things that you do have a long-lasting effect on your psyche going forward. So making that decision all by yourself, that's hard to live with. But allowing a council of elders, right, whatever you decide in your new society's structure, to make that decision together, that I think is a safer decision I could live with. The hard thing is going to be talking to that friend saying, okay, look, we got to take this to the council. And depending on what they did, if it's something that you think requires death, it might not be safe to have that conversation with them saying we got to take it to the council. I honestly don't think I would have that conversation with them until after I've taken it to the council and say, look, this is such a grievous thing you've just done. The council has decided to meet. They're all aware of it. I was the only witness to it. And now that they've got my testimony, now I feel safe having that conversation with them. Not even necessarily safe, but then I feel it's appropriate time to have that conversation with them. Because if they were willing to do it already once, thinking they can get away with it, what's going to stop them to do it again to you?
Yeah, and if they changed only because they got caught, that's a big thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. That is true. And I think it's definitely better to figure those answers out right now. And I mean, that's kind of why we play this game. We've always liked the conflicted games, because it gets your mind working through the different scenarios where you should make that decision first. I mean, this is a lot of scenarios, right? There's a lot of material here, and that's a lot to go through. So I think there's a lot to think about. And I like how these are divided into different categories, so it can be much more specific about to what you maybe want to learn in the moment. But yeah, go ahead.
I just like Rebecca's comment. It's like, I think it's super dependent on the crime, the actual setup of the government, right? You have to plan now for what you want to try to do after, right? Through and after a post-apocalyptic scenario. if you're using the Bible as your guide, that'll give you a good benchmark
Mm-hmm.
of morality, right? Using the 10 Commandments, and using a judge system. But yeah, they're the severity of what happens is going to require justice or mercy depending on what's going on. But if it is a life-ending scenario, man, that's a hard thing to deal with.
And I guess if you were to, depending on the scenario, if you were to address it individually with that person, you may be putting yourself in harm's way as well,
Or your loved ones.
or loved ones, without then making it known to the group.
And while we're doing this, as we're going across questions, guys, if you have questions you want to ask, drop them in the chat, and we'll ask those.
Practical reworded this a little bit and gave us a specific example. If you caught your wife cheating, or husband for that matter, and he or she doesn't know, how would you handle it? And so I agree in a way that Rebecca even mentioned, that it kind of depends on the crime. I mean, if I watch somebody kill somebody else, that's definitely, hey, there's no counsel.
Yeah.
We're taking you straight to the deal and dealing with this. If I watched you kind of steal from the storehouse a little bit, I'm like, hey, what's going on? That to me is more of a conversation first, and then see what's up. So I just the reality is that if we get into some of these scenarios, we're going to have to deal with this stuff. And so it's good to kind of think about it ahead of time and get some good, get your mind wrapped around some of the things that you might do and might have to consider.
Okay, so let me ask a follow-up question to that. So what 5 crimes would you list as punishable by death post-apocalyptic?
By death? Well, of course, murder.
Okay.
Not killing, but murder. After that, I guess it depends on the particular what's happening at the time. Like if you're stealing food and there's very little food and everyone is just barely getting along, maybe that's should have been talked about before. Like if we catch you stealing food, that's a crime punishable by death. But I think you need to set those boundaries right up front.
So or at least asking, like, what would you set as those boundaries now? So obviously death or murder. Food, I think honestly a 3-strike rule. First strike, branded. Second strike, lose a hand. Third strike, lose a life. Right? I would absolutely at the top of the list, right next to murder, I would put molestation or rape or sexual abuse of any kind of a child.
Yeah, like what WWA said.
Yeah, but there you go. Abominations against children. Protect the kids. Number 3, this goes almost up there as well, but rape or molestation of anyone else. Oh, that's tough. I kind of want to say yes to death on that. But yeah, anyone that gives away your party to an enemy, I guess that falls into the line of treason.
Treason. There we go.
Traitor.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and Rebecca puts this up there too. She's like, in my mind, when Scott says unforgivable crimes, most of those are associated with the death penalty or lifelong imprisonment. And honestly, we don't have the resources in a post-apocalyptic scenario to keep somebody in jail for a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe they become a chain gang. If we got enough chain, they're working crops during the day and they're chained up at night. I don't know. That's the tough one.
But then also
the Wild Wild West was kind of like that. How many, I don't know what the numbers are, but you see in these movies anyways, where they just high noon, you meet each other in the square and you shoot and you're done. Like, so people, I don't know if that was common or not, but it's just, there's a lot, it seems like there's a lot more of that.
To a duel in the.
Yeah. Or there's a lot more of, hey, you know what? You did the crime. We don't have a big jail. We'll just take you. Like, seems like there was a lot more of that back in the day. And I don't know if that's just Hollywood kind of, making that more
glamorizing it.
Yeah, glamorized, but it seems
I think
like
that's
go back to that. That's probably what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, and I think that's where the firing squad kind of comes into play, right? Because who's going to do it, right? Whereas the firing squad gives some level of disconnection, I guess, to that. But still serves its purpose. But
that reminds me, there was a there in the 1 second after that the book, they had to execute somebody. And I don't remember what the scenario was off the top of my head, but that was a big, like, there were several pages on what do we do? How do we do this? Is this the right thing? Who do we get to actually pull the trigger? Like, and then it was like everybody watched, and then, or do we just not let anybody watch and do it privately? And so there was a really big, and that I can't remember what the scenario was. If anybody's listening right now and remembers what the scenario was that brought that on, that would be that was just, I just remember that part of the book being really tense because they had to they had to think about that.
Well, I know in the past days, in particular, I guess during the French Revolution, people would be executed in public with lots of people around. Obviously, as an example, and I don't know if I agree with that, but definitely something to consider as well.
Oh, I was actually about to ask a question about this, and Rock and Ryan Olson brought it up. It says mental health. There are so many variables. Sometimes things can be fixed with proper medication and support. I would tread lightly thinking we have the answers, especially if you're not educated in mental illness. That is such a good point. Like, that is one of my areas of concern that I don't have solved for my group, because it seems like it's constantly changing, and there's just so much to know with different medications and different things that people are dealing with. But it's like, what is the plan? What is your plan, mental health wise, for your family post collapse? For your family or group? That's a huge question, because we've got anxiety, we've got depression, we've got ADHD, and we've got some people who've gone through some abusive trauma situations in life in our group. And it's like, you've got to work to help those people process, especially if you've seen a teenager lose Wi-Fi and lose their SHIT, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to deal with everything gone, not just Wi-Fi?
Yeah. And that long-term effect of realizing that.
Oh, Paris froze
Exactly,
up.
just like we lost Paris. That long-term effect. Like, what? I mean, what's your answer to that, Shane?
Well,
Like,
it makes me think that I need to work to find someone in my group family who is willing to focus on this topic and become the group expert on this and be able to advise people appropriately. So I'm definitely not my strong suit there, but I think it would take a lot of compassion. That's obviously something we're all Christians here for the most, I guess, for the most part in the group, and we use our scripture, use the Bible to help us with those answers. Come up with those answers. So, I honestly, I don't really even like to go there at the moment. You're asking some really tough questions, Scott, and I'm not liking it, honestly. But I guess that's why we do this, right? It's practice.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think this is a great point. J.R. Henry, we talked about your regenerative agriculture earlier, but great point. Are most of these issues, are they symptoms of modernity? Are they symptoms of our current society systems? And will they go away as we get back to the nature? I think a lot of them will go away. I think there are some that the people are just too entrenched in their situation. And those are the ones I worry about, because they'll make decisions that'll affect themselves and the group in the immediate future that might eliminate them and some other people in the group in that transition to the newer, more natural life again. But definitely a hard discussion, hard point to think about.
Well, I have always thought about how I look forward to a collapse, because most everyone who is not involved will be compelled to be involved in their own survival, right? Instead of relying on mom and dad, right, to pay the bills and to make the meals and so forth. I think it's going to get more people involved. And like JR says, I think a lot of that will dissipate. But Practical has a great point as well there. So take a look at that. I won't put it up on the board, but great conversation.
Yeah.
Do you guys hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Welcome back,
Yep.
Chris.
All right, I'm back. I just actually read. I follow and study, obviously, a lot of things, but one of the philosophies is the Stoicism philosophy, and or the Stoic. And what I just read a whole paragraph, a whole chapter on the idea of disconnecting. Even anciently, there was so much in the civilization that distracts us with noises and just cities and everything that's going on. And there is a reality to disconnecting and unplugging. And one of my good friends that a guy that I'm in a group with that I'm getting to know, he got to the point, I think, where his adrenals were so taxed that the doctor said, you need to stop working and you need to do something because you're like stage 3 and stage 4 is death. And in the process of doing that, he like completely disconnected from a lot of things. And he just started to recover and realize that most of the problems he was in were self-made, and they were imposed because of all the stress and of trying to be successful and live in a society that we're in now. And I really think that J.R. Henry's onto something there with that comment about the modernity of our lives and what we're going through right now. I think and that's why I think a lot of people, and I probably do this too soon, actually, they take a fast. They fast from social media. And when they come back, a lot of people are like, wow, I feel so much more in tune with myself. So there's maybe some wisdom in that.
And it helps you to lose that addiction as well, right?
Yeah.
When you get away with it, you find it more repulsive when you get back to it. Like, I really don't want to be a part of this. So
it's a dopamine detox, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Digital detox. Every time I've done one of those, it has been absolutely phenomenal for my state of mind. Cuts out grabbing the phone. Like we all have our phones handy. Some people are listening and watching live right now on their phones. They're like, shut up, Scott, I'm looking at you right now, right? We're all on a device. But like putting things away for a while is so good. Having that fast, it is amazing how people who fast consistently have better overall health, better overall mental health, mental wellness, right? Less attachment issues. They don't suffer from FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. They
That's huge.
Overall seem to do so much better than people who are just on it, always connected to their devices. I've had jobs where I've had to be on call and I'm always connected to the phone, and I got anxious all the time because you're just waiting for that next call. I get off work, I'd punch out, but I never could really truly punch out. So living in a society where we no longer have those attachments, oh man, that sounds nice.
Yeah.
But there's challenges that'll bring too.
There's a funny thing my wife sent me the other day. She's like, when everything is going so well that you realize I'm just waiting for the effing, like the F word. I'm not going to say it over the airwaves, but the F, ending. Yeah. And I'm just like, you know what? That's kind of a reality. Like, hey, my day's going really well. When's the crap going to hit the fan? Oh, there it is. Thank you so much. You know what I mean? So especially, and you know what? I mean, I love my kids and I wouldn't trade them for anything, but I realize that I'm a liability to myself. My wife can be a liability to me. All of my kids are liability. Like, the more kids you have, the more liability, the more exposure you have to potential liability. And I'm just like, what did I do? So there's also the power of coming together though, as a family. And that's an asset where we can all work together, grow together, help each other, support each other. And that's the asset part of it. So I need to focus more on that than the, what did I do having so many kids? I get a phone call from my daughter. I'm like, is everything okay? Yeah, Dad, right. Everything's fine. I'm just calling to tell you. Like today I got something in the mail and I thought, oh geez, it's something from the government. I got a letter from the state of Utah today. And I was like, oh geez, what do they want from me now? And it was actually, I overpaid my taxes last year, so they were refunding me some money. So it was actually, I was like, I need to, like, my own mental, I need to work on that. Realizing that
overpaid. Now I get my tax or my interest-free loan money back that I gave to the government. Better that than all of a sudden have a bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. Are we ready to jump on to the next one?
Let's hit it hard.
All right, cool. Okay, is it my turn?
Yep.
All right, this is the nuclear fallout deck. So the one I picked up here, it says, After a nuclear explosion nearby, what clues would you look for in order to try to predict the amount of fallout that may affect you and your loved ones? And I picked this deck because, this is a possibility nowadays. You look at what's going on, potentially Israel and Iran and so on and so forth. And I think that is a possibility. So what I have learned, and would like to hear what you guys think, is obviously wind direction, your proximity to the event, the obviously the distance you are away, what is between you, and the event, how much earth, how much dirt, how much concrete, those types of things. Oh, okay. Repeat the question. Wi-Fi blipped out. Sorry, I put
that's a
my
lot.
deck away. After a nuclear explosion nearby, what clues would you look for in order to try to predict the amount of fallout that may affect you and your loved ones? I know another option, another possibility is some of these nuclear weapons put out a lot of fallout, and some put out very little. I don't know what the difference would be if looking for clues personally, but I just pulled that out of the deck. So that's probably something I need to study up on. I'm sure some of you probably know a little bit more about that than I do, like practical, right?
Still, I'm like,
I did a quick Google search, and it's not really helping, but
well, yeah, go to a different search engine probably.
Yeah, radioactive fallout, nuclear blasts. I would say one thing to think, of course, is to what are the plant life? Because I'm sure that a fallout is going to affect those plants first, animals second.
Animals.
And so are we seeing, I don't know if you ever watched that show, The 100. It was a while ago. And it was apparently a nuclear fallout happened on Earth, and a bunch of kids, a huge group of people went into space, and they ran out of resources on their spaceship, so they have to come back down, and they're trying to find out if Earth is habitable again.
Yep.
And one of the things they find is they see this deer, and they're like, "Oh, sweet, this deer!" And then it's a profile, and they're like, "Oh, that's so, hey, great, a deer. We must be okay." And then the deer turns, and there's like 3 heads and like 4 mouths and like all these other things. And it's like,
yeah, that's a good sign. Yeah, that's a good sign.
That's a sign of nuclear fallout.
No, thank you.
Yeah, and are plants like moving along the ground instead of like staying stationary? That might be another thing to think about. But I would say, what is the flora and fauna? Because I'm sure that's going to be a huge thing. And then, are there birds, flowers, bees, butterflies? I mean, are we hearing some of those things? Because those are going to be dead in a fallout probably pretty quickly. And so if you're hearing those things, you might be able to say, okay, I think we're in a safer zone than if you weren't hearing them.
And get yourself a Geiger counter, right? And that will be
shoot, if we all had a Geiger counter, we could just
I do.
Oh,
I do.
Of course you do. Sorry. I forget who I'm talking to sometimes.
Sometimes. And like Rebecca says, okay, if you put your thumb up, if I can do this here, and your thumb covers the explosion, you're obviously better off the further you are away, obviously. But if it's bigger than your thumb, like she says here, yeah, you're in big trouble if it goes out beyond your thumb. So, but you should know your prevailing winds. I mean, these are things that you should look at right now. What are some major targets nearby? I've got some military bases along the Wasatch Front here. We all do. And those are going to be targets, and so and our prevailing winds go west to east, and so that's bad for us because most of these are located west of me and then north. So some would miss me, but we got Dugway and we got Camp Williams who are potential targets. Dugway more so than I think Williams, and that is directly west of us, so that would be coming directly my way.
It's interesting. It's like I look at where all the nuclear power plants are, nuclear facilities. I look at where all of the military bases are, and I look at where all the prevailing winds come from and go to, right? Those are the three things I look at. And I'm moving to an area that has bad prevailing winds, a local nuclear power plant. I'm like, crap. And also look at water supply. Does it go by
Mhm,
that location? How long is it going to get affected by it? Like, you've got to look at all those considerations. But yeah, definitely watch for the 3-eyed Simpsons fish and the 2-headed deer. And there'll be signs.
Well, even here in Utah, we have that big old fat NSA building just up the road, and that,
Not far.
I mean, it's not a military base, but it might as well be. And I'm sure that's going to be
well, it's right next to the military base too. So
yeah, it's going to be on the list of targets for, I would say.
I would think so.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's go to another one because that's too hard to.
Yeah, next one.
Deep dive and get in. Paris, your turn.
Okay, let me find one that's not like the whole card.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Shorter one. Oh, we're at 42 minutes already. Wow. Time's flying.
This is fun content. Well, while you're looking, I'll give one of mine. I've prepared and gotten a list or stack of cards out. So, what event or series of events do you believe will lead to the end of the world as we know it? How's it going to go down?
One more time.
What event or series of events is what's going to lead to the end of the world as we know it? What is your series of pre-apocalyptic light switches?
This is a long one. This is long.
Go.
Long topic. Oh, I think all we have to do is just open your eyes and watch what's going on in the world right now. End of story.
Nope. More defined. More definitive.
More definitive.
To me, I think there's going to be a potential civil war coming. It's at least that's what a lot of the imagery in the Bible talks about as civil war. There's definitely very strong World War III imagery in the Book of Revelation. One thing that I don't know if I was talking to my son the other day actually about some of this stuff, and the United Nations has the world mapped out into 10 territories, and the Bible, the Book of Revelation talks about 10 kings that will rule over the world, and I'm like, I wonder if there's a correlation there. So those are some things. I do know that there's a very big imagery, especially in like the books of Isaiah, that talk about a civil war coming, where the division of people, the haves and have-nots, if you will. There's even other books that aren't as canonized, like Ezra has a book that talks a lot about the last days and kind of the two wings of a same bird, but it still kind of divides into the two wings, which kind of gives the imagery of a civil war. I was a little nervous too about how Donald Trump came out and said, all you Christians come out and vote for me, and then you'll never have to vote again.
Just once. Yeah. Just like this one time.
Just this last time.
Was that like legit? Did he really say that, or was
he
that?
Did?
I looked it up, and it was very
like
I was just like, this.
I'll find it.
What's he planning once he gets into office, or what? What's the agenda here? I can see there's a real idea of. One of the things this talks about in scripture is that America is a promised land, and it's a land where there will never be kings as long as we remember our God. And I just get to the point where I'm looking around and I'm thinking, we're forgetting God quickly. In so many ways. There's a lot of really good, strong Christians. Don't get me wrong. I do know that there's a fat amount of people that are strong and conservative and really building, but we'll see so much of what's going on in the government and other places where it's kind of becoming more and more godless. And I feel like the promises of our God are that if we're doing what we're supposed to do, he will prosper us. And if we don't do what he's asked us to do, then he will kind of remove that prosperity. And I just feel like we might be headed towards that, where he removes his, Jonathan Cahn talks about it. There's a lot of other, people that are, more really scripturally, understand the scriptures even better than I do, that have some of these same ideas that I'm kind of just sharing. So those are kind of my thoughts about a couple of things that be coming.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh,
yeah.
you're on. Man. Okay.
What?
You were unmuted there for a second, Scott. We didn't hear you.
Was I? Weird.
Yeah.
Not intentionally.
Anyway.
I think, yeah. That gives me more thought. Trump really said that, I'm like, man, that even I see what's happening right now is kind of the trickling of what's going to trigger all the apocalyptic scenarios, right? Scripturally, there's the war.
Let me read exactly the quote from Reuters.
Okay.
In Christians, in 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good, you're not going to have to vote.
Yeah,
That's
Trump
what Reuters.
does say.
That's from Reuters.
Yeah, Trump does say some pretty bombastic things like that. So it's not entirely out of the ordinary for him to make claims like that, right? But
True.
you can definitely read into it if you want to.
Sure. I just say, let's keep our eyes open and our ears to the ground. And if it's rhetoric, if it's just him shooting out, blowing smoke, great. If it's not, hey, we kind of, be prepared.
As an omen or something.
Yeah, man. Oh, just yeah. I'm not excited about the wars, the civil wars, and the real pandemic, the real viruses, and the real things that are going to hit, because those do not look good in the Bible. And what's interesting is if you look at all the different prophecies, all the prophets through all the history have always looked forward to our time and marveled, because it's the wrapping up of
thousands
of the deception, right? Of this 2,000 years. And what's interesting is what happens afterwards, phenomenal, but what happens during, it doesn't sound so fun, but we will see great miracles. I look forward to that part. But, everything in between, I'm like, no thanks. Unsubscribe to that. Subscribe to Prep Attack Radio. Unsubscribe to all the weirdness that's going down in the meantime as we prepare for our apocalyptimist approach to the next millennia.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Paris, did you find your question that you wanted to?
I did find one. Describe 5 things someone can do to prepare for the collapse of society. I think it's actually a good one to kind of close it off.
I like that. Yeah.
5 things.
Describe 5 things someone can do to prepare for the collapse of society.
I think we've kind of touched on some a little bit. Like, first of all, get your food going, right? Get your garden going, because you can only store so much, right? You can't, even if you have food that's supposed to last 25 years, it's likely not going to. And I can't store more than a couple of years worth of food storage, and so that's number 1 for me.
Yeah, what's interesting is there's another thing that says, there's 4 resources they mentioned: food, water, shelter, and weapons. Pick if you could only pick 3, which would they be? That kind of relates to this, because those are at least water. 4 or 5 things I would say that you should have. Food, water, shelter. Obviously, those are the 3 main things. And then after that, weapons, of course, is critical to defend yourself and defend your family. And then I like what Kat says here: spiritual preparation and skills. Like, what are the skills that we can learn because there's going to be some things. In modern society, we can get away with a lot because we have conveniences. We have a lot of supply chain. We have division of labor. We have so many specialties, like people specialize in certain things. So I don't have to do that anymore because that guy's a specialist. Well, when we go back to a more agricultural, maybe SHTF society, there's going to be a lot more of us that are going to have to pick up some extra skills that, we're going to have a lot more bandwidth. And the good news is, I think that if you get rid of a lot of the distractions we have in our modern world, I think we're going to be able to have the bandwidth to be able to do other things. Like, some of these guys who were in, you read back in history, and they wrote books, they were politicians, they led the war. Like, they did, like, some of these guys were like, how did you do all that? Like Albert Einstein, we talked about in another episode, a couple episodes ago, being one of the smartest guys around. He was smart enough to only, he had so many, and even Thomas Edison, like, these guys did a lot of things because they didn't have the distractions that we have today. They had different ones, obviously, but I just think there's a lot of bandwidth. Human beings are capable of a lot more. than we think we are. And I think we can, once we get to a point where we can actually tap into that and spend the time to tap into that, I think we'll be able to succeed more readily.
I like JR's comment here the best. Untook skills, bohunting skills, computer hacking skills.
Napoleon.
Girls only like guys with skills.
It's true.
So awesome.
From what I've heard.
Oh man, that's totally Napoleon Dynamite right there. 100% straight from the movie.
Good way to end on. I like that one best.
It's funny because as we talk about this, as we've discussed so many different times, it's impossible to be 100% ready. It's impossible to be unscathed from any event, or from the future, from life. I mean, we all go through it. So the 5, I don't want to go 5 things deep, but I think my own personal wellness as a whole, which would be mental, spiritual, and physical. I think those are the things I think we all can agree that those are things that we need to be working on now. In an apocalyptic scenario, I mean, yeah, regular everyday preparedness, practical preparedness, they're great to help, but it's like, oh yeah, if I have food storage and I have money saved up, I can get through joblessness, right? If I have a plan, I can get through a house fire, right? If I have good insurance, but to prepare for an apocalyptic scenario, I've got to be able to drag an unconscious friend to a safe place if I need to, right? I need to be able to go up a flight of stairs without panting at the top and passing out, right? Or 30 flights of stairs, whatever the situation. I need to be able to hike the side of a mountain. And I think a lot of us are struggling with that, are struggling with our mental capacities to do a lot of things. And I think that's where we, as air quote preppers, that's one of the skills we all need to work on, right? The physical, spiritual, and emotional readiness, and the mental, right? That we just a lot of times are neglecting right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Rebecca, dating site. I got to post that. She's still waiting for a Prepper Talk Radio dating site. We are in the mix. No, I'm just kidding. I wish I could say we're building something out for you, Rebecca, but we are in the process actually of having our own community launch soon. When I launch the new website, preppertalkradio.com, you will see some pretty sweet stuff roll out with that.
And I suppose you could probably use it that way.
I'll make a dating section of our community.
There we go.
Yeah. The
find your foxhole buddy.
Speed dating. Speed dating Prepper Talk style.
Prepper speed dating.
Are we ready to close it off with for the night, guys? This was a great live. We have a lot of these, by the way. These are conflicted. I know Shane shared with you a bunch of different.
There's like 10 decks or so.
So this is conflicted. I think it's called conflictedgames.com. I'm not sure the exact website, but they have a bunch of. They actually, from time to time, they'll reach out because they listen. I think the guy who runs Conflicted Games is in our Facebook group. Even at least he's a member. Maybe we should tag him and just give him a little bit of a shout out. But it's impossible to be prepared for everything, but if we can be prepared for 80% of stuff, I think we'll be able to figure out the other 20% when it comes time to get it done. So please make sure that you are paying attention to our social media. You're liking, subscribing, and sharing, and helping us to grow. We would really appreciate those of you who listen on either Apple or Spotify, or specifically Apple, to give us a 5-star review if you deserve it, or some kind of give us a comment on there to let us know how we're doing, and if there's anything we can do to continue to keep things moving along. So we're grateful for you being on the show with us, especially on the live. We're grateful to I think we had 11 or so people at the peak on the live with us. Thank you for being on the live with us. Make sure you go and check out our friends over at amp-3.net. And they're our first aid sponsor. They are the premier place for first aid kits that we have right now that we're willing to promote. So they're a great first aid program. Also, please don't forget about our good friends over at Survival Frog. If you use Prepper Talk as the code, anytime you check out on either of those sites, you're going to get a discount. And we would really appreciate it. It helps keeps the show going and keeps us motivated to keep doing things and actually bring about even better stuff. I actually had somebody reach out and say, hey, did you guys, I got my technician license for the ham radio thing. Did you guys, where do I submit my license? And I said, oh, we already found the people. So congratulations to the people who won that last month. We're going to continue to do contests as we have the resources to do it. So please stay tuned. And until the next time, guys, have a fantastic day, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See ya.